Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's good to see you. It's been a hot minute. It has actually been since February. I have been absent, I must not lie. Today I thought I would film a June wrap up just because I've been reading this month a little bit, and also at the end I'm just kind of do a little like pop-up of all of the books that I have read since the end of February, just so you can see what I've read. I'm not going to do synopses, I'm not going to do my star ratings. There's no point at this point. So that's the plan. Pretty simple plan. Without further ado, let's dive right on in. I'm going to be using Storygraph to have a look at everything that I have been reading, and in the month of June I have read 4 books, so that is the equivalent of 1,535 pages. So yeah, that's pretty good for June. For me anyway. The first book that I read in June was the Flatshare by Beth LaRue, and I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. We follow 2 narratives, that of Tiffy and Leon. Tiffy has just recently come out of a very emotionally abusive relationship, which is something that she is discovering throughout the book. So just as a content warning, it does look at toxicity and abuse in relationships. And basically she's just moved out and she needs to find a cheap apartment. And Leon, who works as a nurse, a night nurse in a hospice, he is looking for someone to fill the room during the night, and he is in the room during the day. So like they never cross paths, but they share the same room, the same bed, the same literally everything. And we basically just read about their 2 separate lives, how they come together, how they get in contact with each other, which is via like little sticky notes that they leave around the house, and just their friendship and potentially something else ensues. It is a romance, so spoiler not spoiler, obviously it gets a bit spicy. But in terms of like actual spice, not that big in the book, but the way that it is written is so well. Like not even just that section, the actual book itself is a masterpiece, in my opinion. The next book that I read was volume 3 in Heartstopper. I'm slowly making my way through. I just have the last one to read. I was really initially put off by Alice Oseman's writing because I read Loveless and that just wasn't my cup of tea, but the actual graphic novels themselves are so heartwarming and just altogether so lovely. So enough said. I would definitely read them. This one has content warnings of eating disorders and also discussion surrounding self-harm. So this one is a little bit heavier than the other 2 coming before. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to spoil it. Obviously the Netflix series is out and the graphic novels before. So just in case you've not seen or read them, I am legit just not going to comment on it. So yeah, that is Heartstopper. The next book that I read was Wranglestone by Darren Charleston, and this is a young adult fiction surrounding 2 boys, well they're 16, they're teenagers, who are gay during a zombie apocalypse, and it's all about their relationship, how it blossoms whilst discovering things about kind of like the national park areas that they have been growing up in. So the national parks have been turned into like these hideouts, and they've obviously got their own like self-governed system and like different like things they do. What's the word, like rules. They've got different like rules, societal and like actual rules when it comes to like people turning into zombies and stuff. And at first I was gonna be like, I was a bit like wow wow, like I really love love zombie stuff. I don't know why, I just have an obsession with zombies specifically. And I thought that this was going to be a bit like, but honestly it made me cry my eyes out. I thought it was amazing. The writing is gorgeous. The characters, the development, and just kind of like how we get to know them, I think is really well done. We don't know too much about them, but that's because it's turning into a series. It's been a really good reading month this month. Last but not least, I read Shuggie Bain by Douglas Stuart. Now this is nothing like what I was expecting. So it delves into like a family dynamic and kind of like how their lives were affected by Thatcher's policies and the opium epidemic. And honestly, I cannot fault the immense detail into the characters. And by the way, we follow like 4 or 5 and the detail is just absolutely phenomenal. I've never read such beautiful words about such a harrowing and heartbreaking story. I'm going to leave all the content warnings down below because it is an extremely heavy book and it wasn't what I was expecting. So it took me a long while to get through the book, but it, woof, it like hits you in the heart. But I wouldn't recommend this book if you were looking for something light or like a quick, easy read. This took me a good 2 months, and I had to space and pace. I'm so glad that I read it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We're also doing a podcast about Shuggie, Bain, and also I'm going to be talking about Wranglestone on there as well. So I'll leave the link down in the description in case you want to hear us discuss this in more detail and about the characters themselves. But it blew me away. I gave it a 4.5, and that is solely on the basis of the fact that I really had to pace myself. Sometimes I didn't feel the need or want to pick it up, but I just can't decide if that was a good thing or a bad thing. So, they're all of the books that I read in June. And then last but not least, a small little rundown of things that I have been reading. So, in May, I read one book, and that was Heartstopper Volume 2. In April, I read 3 books. I read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, Heartstopper Volume 1, and People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. And in March, I read 5 books. I read The Fire Within by Chris DeLacy, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab, Trojan Women, Euripides, but translated by Gilbert Murray. I read An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green, and I also read If Cats Disappeared from the World by Genki Kawamura, and Eric Selland was the translator. That's kind of like been my reading pattern so far, and I'm really excited. I feel like I'm getting into the swing of reading again, so can't wait to see what July holds for me. Amazing. That's kind of it for the video. Yay! Woohoo! Let me know what you've read in June, what you've been up to, any book recommendations, anything that I've missed from Book Talk, like what have I missed in terms of like books that are popular, blah blah blah, writers, do you know what I mean? Like, just give me all of the information. Fantastic. Right, if you made it this far, thank you so much, I greatly appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, sick. Bye! Where's the button?